Welcome to Auckland International Airport. Directly behind me is the regional apron serving the domestic terminal. Today, I will be flying with Jetstar New Zealand, a very similar product to Jetstar Australia, down to the capital city of Wellington. When flying domestically in New Zealand, excluding a few small airlines that only operate prop aircraft, passengers really have only two options: Air New Zealand or Jetstar. However, Jetstar's presence in New Zealand is significantly reduced compared to Air New Zealand, only operating to 5 domestic destinations compared to Air New Zealand's 20. Here at Auckland International Airport, the terminal complex is split into 3 sections, with Jetstar's presence being on the western side, Air New Zealand on the eastern side, and in the middle is the arrival hall and a semi-large food court. Much like at domestic airports back in Australia, Jetstar have many self-service check-in kiosks present for passengers to use. However, surprisingly, none of them were working today, so a manual check-in at a desk was required. Check-in this morning was very easy and took no time at all. However, it could have been a little bit faster had the kiosks been working. With my bag on its way to Wellington, I quickly turned around and made my way towards the Eastern Security Checkpoint, which is located just in front of the food court. It's worth noting that there is a second security checkpoint next to the Air New Zealand check-in area. However, for obvious reasons, I used the one that's much closer to the Jetstar check-in area. Generally speaking, security in the morning is usually pretty slow due to the sheer volume of passengers passing through. However, in today's case, security was very easy and took less than 5 minutes. Once airside, passengers are guided towards 2 different sections of the terminal, depending on which airline they are flying. As today's Jetstar flight down to Wellington was one of the first flights of the day, the majority of passengers turned right towards the westerly gates, which also happens to be where Jetstar's aircraft are usually parked. On the departures level, there are a few shops around, as well as a plentiful selection of seats. Once I had arrived at the gate, I got a first-hand look at the aircraft that's about to take me south to Wellington, which today is an Airbus A320-200 registered as Victor Hotel, Victor Golf Hotel. Construction of this airframe was completed at Airbus's final assembly line in Hamburg, Germany in October of 2010, being delivered brand new to Jetstar Australia later the following month. This makes the aircraft 14 years old. Boarding this morning commenced on time at gate 20 and was called by row, starting from the back forward, meaning I was one of the last passengers to step on board. This morning, the entire complement of passengers boarded through a single air bridge. I'm not 100% certain as to why we did not board via rear stairs, however, I suspect it was due to the temperature outside. This also had the unfortunate side effect of a slow boarding time, and I spent nearly 10 minutes in the jet bridge waiting for other passengers to board. Jetstar's Airbus A320s have 2 different configurations depending on the aircraft's age. Jetstar has opted for 186 Recaro BL3530 seats in their standard 3-3 layout for this aircraft. The bulkhead seat features 34 inches or 86 centimeters of pitch and 17.5 inches or 44 centimeters of width. In the right-hand armrest is a bifold tray table which folds out in half and extends away from you. In the seat back pocket, you'll find a standard safety card, buy on-board menu and air sickness bag. Above are individual reading lights, air vents and flight attendant call buttons. Soon we commenced our pushback from gate 20, 1 minute behind our scheduled departure time.
Hello again. We want you to have a safe and enjoyable flight. So please listen closely while we take you through the safety requirements for our Airbus A320. The A320 has 8 emergency exits, which we'll now show you. 2 at the front, 4 over the wing, and 2 at the back of the cabin, in the bathrooms. It's our pleasure to have you on board with us today, and we hope you have an enjoyable flight. Thanks for listening.
We taxied to runway 05 right via Bravo 6, Alpha and Alpha 10. Now please enjoy this unedited takeoff. After takeoff, the aircraft made a fairly steep right-hand turn away from the airport to set up our southerly course for Wellington. Flight time today is 49 minutes, covering a distance of 333 miles or 536 kilometers, cruising at 34,000 feet. Depending on what side of the aircraft you sit on when flying out of Auckland, there is always the opportunity to see the city of Auckland itself after takeoff, and in today's case I was on the correct side, so I got a good look at the city lights. Jetstar New Zealand offers a buy on board menu with a vast selection of different items for consumption to choose from, which includes soft drinks, beer, wine and spirits. Now feel free to pause the video at any time to view the menu items in more detail. A part of my ticket, I had the option of selecting either a hot drink with a piece of cake or a chocolate slice. I opted for the chocolate slice, which I haven't really tried before. Just prior to descent, down below was the river and coastal city of Wanganui, which interestingly has 2 official spellings of the city name, Wanganui and Wanganui, one being the traditional Maori and the other is Anglo-Saxon. On board the aircraft are 3 bathrooms, 1 at the front and 2 at the rear. Inside is everything you would typically come to expect for this aircraft type, including the Qantas branded hand soap. Soon we commenced our descent into Wellington. If you have ever spoken to any plane spotter ramble about photography, you'll quickly learn that there is a certain time of day called golden hour, which is when the sky literally is the shade of gold, hence the name. In today's case, it was a race against the clock to get on the ground before the sun came over the horizon. The reason for the sun's golden glow during these times is due to the scattering of light in the Earth's atmosphere. When the sun is low on the horizon, its light travels through more of the atmosphere than when it's higher in the sky. This longer path causes the scattering of shorter wavelengths of light, such as blue and violet, whilst leaving the longer wavelengths like yellow and red much more visible. All in all, golden hour will always be the best time of the day to fly, as it's always visually stunning, no matter where in the world you are. Now please enjoy this unedited landing. After landing, we taxied back to the domestic terminal via Alpha 3, Alpha, Bravo 5 and Bravo. We pulled onto Gate 22, 7 minutes ahead of our scheduled arrival time. Stepping off the aircraft, I thanked the cabin crew and congratulated one of them on their great work, as it was their first flight. I then turned my attention away from Jetstar and towards reclaiming my bag and meeting up with my good friend Felly Snaps. So, I just flew with Jetstar on one of their Airbus A320s between Auckland and Wellington. What are my thoughts? Well, as always, let's start from the beginning. The check-in process was very smooth and easy, however, it was rather strange that the kiosks were unavailable. Definitely something I'm not used to. Security was very easy and took no time at all, though I suspect this could be that the majority of passengers had either already passed through or were waiting in the food court. On board, the seat was fairly typical for Jetstar, comfortable enough for this short flight, but any longer than 3 hours and I would have been a little bit sore. The food was honestly very disappointing. The chocolate slice looked very delicious, but it was crumbly and lacked any sort of flavour. Tasted like chalk, honestly. Not even the massive Oreo on the top could have saved it. And lastly, the crew were very friendly and eager about their work. This flight was the first ever for one of the crew members, and she was being trained on what to do in the forward galley. It was very cool to see. So, would I recommend you to fly on Jetstar New Zealand? Well, if you don't like Jetstar, don't even bother. But in comparison to, say, Air New Zealand, it was a very affordable, easy, and no-hassle experience. So yeah, I would, just as long as you don't mind the awful departure times. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you check out my other videos if you'd like to see more. And I have said this before, but I now have a Discord server. Feel free to join. The link can be found at the top of the description. And as always, feel free to press the notification button too, as it will let you know whenever I upload, which happens every Friday at 8 PM Sydney time. And I hope to see you all again in the next one. Mā te wā!